What if a small, landlocked African country forged a partnership with one of the world's most isolated regimes, shifting the balance of power in a region already grappling with instability? In a world where global alliances can make or break nations, Burkina Faso's renewed diplomatic relationship with North Korea raises significant questions about sovereignty, military strength, and the fight for independence. This bold move, led by Burkina Faso's leader, Ibrahim Traoré, signals a seismic shift in the nation's foreign policy, one that defies Western influence and seeks to secure a new future through military cooperation. As Burkina Faso navigates the uncertain terrain of global politics, the true implications of this alliance are yet to unfold. But one thing is clear: it's not just a political gesture, it's a game changer. Still, why is North Korea interested in Burkina Faso? In March 2023, a quiet but significant diplomatic move made headlines across Africa and beyond. Burkina Faso announced the restoration of diplomatic relations with North Korea. This unexpected announcement was more than just a political formality. It was a decisive maneuver by Ibrahim Traoré's government, signaling a shift in Burkina Faso's foreign policy. For a country that had severed ties with Pyongyang back in 2017 due to international sanctions, this decision raised eyebrows and prompted critical questions from the West. Why would Burkina Faso, already facing multiple internal and external challenges, choose now to revive relations with one of the world's most isolated and controversial regimes? To answer this, we need to understand the broader context of Burkina Faso's position in a geopolitically tumultuous region and the critical factors influencing Traoré's strategy. The West African Sahel region, including Burkina Faso, has long been a hotbed of insurgency, with extremist groups making inroads into several countries. Traoré, who took power in a military coup in 2022, inherited a nation at war with militant groups and struggled to maintain control of its territory. This security vacuum, coupled with increasing pressure from the West and a lack of meaningful support from traditional allies, left Burkina Faso with few viable options. The West's focus on military interventions in the region, often criticized for their ineffectiveness and counterproductive outcomes, has left African leaders searching for alternative ways to safeguard their sovereignty and security. In this light, re-establishing ties with North Korea wasn't merely an act of defiance. It was a calculated response to Burkina Faso's pressing security needs. North Korea, despite its isolation and the weight of international sanctions, has long been known for providing military assistance to countries in need of defense support. This has included offering arms, training, and military expertise to various nations, particularly those seeking to resist Western influence. For Traoré, who was looking to solidify his authority and strengthen Burkina Faso's defenses against armed insurgents, North Korea represented an opportunity. The re-establishment of diplomatic ties opened the door to secure military equipment, including weapons, training, and perhaps even strategic advice, exactly what Burkina Faso needed in the face of its mounting security crises. Burkina Faso's decision to turn to North Korea is also a clear indication of its desire to break free from the influence of traditional Western powers. In a region dominated by former colonial powers like France, and with the United States increasing influence through military alliances and aid, Burkina Faso's sovereignty had often felt compromised. For many, the West's approach to African security, focused largely on counterinsurgency operations and foreign military presence, has often been more about strategic interests than the true well-being of the people. Traoré's government, by reopening relations with Pyongyang, is sending a message. Burkina Faso will no longer allow itself to be caught in the web of Western interests. The partnership with North Korea is part of a broader strategy to diversify Burkina Faso's foreign alliances and reduce reliance on Western support. Moreover, Traoré's decision to revive ties with North Korea wasn't made in a vacuum. In the face of growing internal unrest and regional instability, the leader's move reflected a deep-seated desire to ensure the country's survival and autonomy. North Korea, which has successfully maintained its sovereignty despite decades of international isolation and sanctions, offered an inspiring model of resistance. It demonstrated how a country could navigate global politics without bowing to external pressure, and this resilience likely appealed to Traoré. With Burkina Faso's territorial integrity at risk, aligning with a nation like North Korea, known for its robust military posture and history of providing military assistance, seemed like a pragmatic step towards strengthening the nation's defense apparatus. While the Western media quickly labeled the diplomatic thaw as a move that would further isolate Burkina Faso, Traoré was prepared to face those challenges head-on. The country's reliance on foreign aid and Western military assistance had dwindled in recent years, and Burkina Faso's leadership seemed increasingly frustrated with the lack of results from past collaborations. The alliance with North Korea was a bold step towards self-reliance, signaling that Burkina Faso would not allow its security to be determined by external powers. By reopening diplomatic relations with Pyongyang, Traoré ensured that Burkina Faso had at least one partner willing to offer practical, non-judgmental support for its security needs. But the move wasn't without its risks. Here's a reminder to please like and share the video, and subscribe to our channel to watch more videos on Black culture, history, civilization, and identity. Let's continue now. Engaging with North Korea could bring additional economic sanctions and diplomatic isolation from Western nations. However, for a country already fighting a relentless insurgency and facing internal divisions, the cost of sanctions may have seemed negligible compared to the tangible benefits of military support. Burkina Faso's leaders knew they were gambling with their place in the global community, but the stakes were too high to ignore. For them, the real gamble was the survival of the state and the protection of its people from the ever-growing threat of insurgency. In that context, the potential for military cooperation with North Korea was far more valuable than any diplomatic fallout. The renewal of ties was also a reflection of Burkina Faso's evolving relationship with the global community. While the West may have condemned the move, it is crucial to note that this realignment with North Korea came at a time when African countries, in general, were becoming more assertive in their foreign policy. The message from Traoré and Burkina Faso was clear. African nations should have the agency to determine their alliances and pursue what is best for their sovereignty, without being pressured into conforming to Western ideals or political frameworks. In conclusion, the restoration of diplomatic ties between Burkina Faso and North Korea is not just a matter of political maneuvering. It is a signal of Burkina Faso's determination to secure its future. Ibrahim Traoré, in seeking North Korea's support, is positioning Burkina Faso to become a more independent, self-reliant nation. The decision also serves as a direct challenge to the prevailing power structures in Africa and the wider world. As the situation in Burkina Faso continues to unfold, the alliance with North Korea may serve as both a lifeline and a symbol of defiance, paving the way for a new chapter in the country's history. While the benefits to Burkina Faso of its alliance with North Korea are fairly evident, namely military support, advanced technology, and a chance to distance itself from Western influence, the question remains: what does North Korea stand to gain from its support of Ibrahim Traoré's government in Burkina Faso? In the complex world of international relations, alliances are rarely one-sided. For North Korea, the relationship with Burkina Faso goes beyond merely providing military assistance. It is a strategic partnership that offers several key benefits that align with Pyongyang's broader geopolitical interests. First, it's important to understand that North Korea is a highly isolated state, operating under the strictest of sanctions imposed by the United Nations, the United States, and the European Union. Its economic and diplomatic isolation has made it increasingly difficult for the country to engage in traditional economic relations and maintain stable alliances. However, North Korea has long relied on unconventional alliances with states that are also isolated or seeking to break free from Western dominance. In this context, Burkina Faso represents an ideal partner, one that is not only willing to engage with North Korea, but also stands to gain substantially from the relationship, making it an attractive proposition for Pyongyang. One of the most significant benefits for North Korea in supporting Traoré is the opportunity to expand its diplomatic influence on the African continent. Africa, with its vast resources and strategic location, has long been a region of interest for global powers, including China, the United States, and the European Union. By forging closer ties with an African nation like Burkina Faso, North Korea can secure a foothold in a region where it has historically had limited engagement. While the African Union (AU) and individual African countries have generally remained neutral or even sympathetic toward North Korea, its alliance with Burkina Faso sends a message that North Korea is not as isolated as it might appear. Supporting Burkina Faso allows North Korea to counterbalance the diplomatic pressure it faces from Western powers. It's not just about providing military aid or technology to Burkina Faso. It's about building alliances that help North Korea navigate a world that increasingly views it as a rogue state. By offering support to Burkina Faso, North Korea strengthens its position in the global geopolitical arena, demonstrating that it still has partners willing to stand by it, even if they are relatively smaller players on the world stage. Apart from that, North Korea's military-industrial complex is vast and well-developed, with a focus on producing a wide range of weapons, from small arms to missile systems and cyber warfare tools. While its economy is constrained by sanctions, the country still possesses a substantial military production capacity that it has sought to leverage through exports, often to countries that are politically or economically isolated, much like itself. Burkina Faso's decision to re-establish diplomatic relations with North Korea opens the door for Pyongyang to export military equipment to a nation in dire need of weapons and technology to fight the insurgency threatening its borders. For North Korea, the arms trade with Burkina Faso could be lucrative, providing much-needed revenue that can be used to support its domestic military programs or maintain its nuclear weapons program. Moreover, the weapons trade to Africa offers North Korea an opportunity to circumvent the restrictions imposed by international sanctions. While sanctions have severely limited North Korea's ability to trade on the global market, it can still engage in military sales with countries that are either under sanctions or willing to defy international pressure. Burkina Faso, with its immediate need for military assistance, is an ideal customer. This arms trade benefits North Korea not only economically, but also strategically, as it strengthens its position as a global supplier of military equipment. Over time, this could also help North Korea secure similar deals with other countries in Africa or Asia that are similarly isolated or dissatisfied with Western influence, creating an alternative market for its military exports. Also, North Korea's engagement with Burkina Faso fits into its broader geopolitical strategy of expanding its influence in regions where traditional powers, such as the United States and European nations, have failed to secure their influence. The Sahel region of Africa, where Burkina Faso is located, is an area beset by security challenges, including insurgencies, and it is increasingly becoming a focal point of international competition for influence. North Korea's involvement in the region provides a counter-narrative to the Western presence, particularly from former colonial powers like France. For North Korea, supporting Traoré and Burkina Faso offers the opportunity to build a foothold in West Africa, which is home to strategic resources and trade routes. As the West's influence in Africa begins to wane, due to growing disillusionment with military interventions and economic partnerships, countries like Burkina Faso may look for alternatives, and North Korea wants to position itself as a key player in this shift. By supporting Burkina Faso, North Korea is laying the groundwork for future partnerships with other African countries that may similarly seek to distance themselves from Western interference. Beyond the immediate military benefits, North Korea's partnership with Burkina Faso offers Pyongyang a valuable opportunity to test and refine its military technologies in real-world combat situations. The ongoing insurgency in Burkina Faso provides an environment in which North Korean military technologies can be deployed and observed in action. Whether it's the performance of advanced missile systems, surveillance equipment, or cyber warfare tools, the conflict in the Sahel provides a relatively low-risk setting for North Korea to fine-tune its military assets in actual combat scenarios. In this sense, Burkina Faso's alliance with North Korea becomes a form of mutual experimentation, with both sides benefiting from the exchange of military knowledge, expertise, and technology. North Korea's interest in this exchange is clear. The more successful its equipment and strategies prove to be in Burkina Faso, the more attractive it becomes to other nations seeking similar military solutions. Another key motivator for North Korea's support of Burkina Faso is the ability to undermine Western influence in Africa, a region that has often been a battleground for global power struggles. By allying with a country that is actively seeking to defy Western influence, North Korea strengthens its position as a counterweight to the United States and European powers. The diplomatic, economic, and military support that Burkina Faso receives from North Korea serves as a challenge to the Western-led international order, which often seeks to impose its values and political system on African nations. For Pyongyang, this partnership isn't just about helping an African state defend itself. It's also about striking a blow against the Western system that has been critical of its regime for decades. By supporting Burkina Faso in this way, North Korea sends a message to the West that it is still a power to be reckoned with, able to forge alliances and shape the global political landscape in ways that challenge the established order. So, North Korea's support for Burkina Faso is far from a one-sided affair. But nothing happens in Africa without the interference of the West. While the partnership between Burkina Faso and North Korea is primarily seen as a pragmatic move to secure military aid and bolster the country's defenses, it comes with significant diplomatic and economic risks. The decision to align with one of the world's most isolated and controversial regimes has drawn criticism from Western nations and global organizations, raising questions about the long-term implications for Burkina Faso's place in the international community. The road ahead for Burkina Faso, under the leadership of Ibrahim Traoré, is fraught with uncertainty. The country's recent alliance with North Korea, despite the military and strategic benefits it offers, presents a multitude of challenges and risks that will shape Burkina Faso's future for years to come. In the face of escalating insurgency, political isolation, and diplomatic pressure from the West, Burkina Faso's move to engage with one of the world's most ostracized regimes could either pave the way for a new era of sovereignty and self-reliance or plunge the country into further chaos. The question remains, can this controversial alliance truly secure Burkina Faso's independence, or will it lead to more complicated and dangerous entanglements? In the face of continued Western criticism, particularly from former colonial powers and international bodies like the United Nations, Ibrahim Traoré's leadership of Burkina Faso remains resolute. While many have questioned his decision to align with North Korea, Traoré's vision for Burkina Faso is clear, and he is not swayed by the pressures of Western intervention or condemnation. For Traoré, the path to national sovereignty, security, and independence lies in charting a course that avoids the pitfalls of traditional Western alliances and seeks out relationships that are built on pragmatic, mutual interests. His leadership has become a symbol of defiance and strategic independence, one that has even garnered the attention and support of North Korea, a country that shares similar objectives of self-reliance and resistance to external domination. Since taking power, Ibrahim Traoré has faced intense criticism from Western governments, particularly those who view his actions as a challenge to the established international order. The re-establishment of diplomatic relations with North Korea, in particular, has drawn condemnation from the United States, the European Union, and others, all of whom see Pyongyang as a pariah state and a threat to global stability. These powers, who have long dictated the terms of African security and development, expected Burkina Faso to continue in their orbit, relying on their aid, military support, and economic resources. However, Traoré, in his pragmatism, has chosen to take a different path. He recognizes that the Western-led systems that have dominated Burkina Faso's development for decades have failed to address the root causes of the country's problems, most notably insurgency and economic stagnation. Burkina Faso's engagement with North Korea is a calculated decision to move away from the constraints of Western aid, military interventions, and political expectations. For Traoré, the true goal is to build a strong, self-reliant Burkina Faso that is not beholden to foreign powers, particularly those with a history of interference and exploitation. The persistent criticism from Western powers only strengthens Traoré's resolve. Rather than being intimidated by sanctions or diplomatic isolation, he sees these as the inevitable consequences of challenging the West's hegemony. To him, such criticism is simply proof that Burkina Faso is on the right track, rejecting the status quo and moving toward a more autonomous future. Traoré's leadership is built on the principle that independence is not just about political freedom, but also about economic and military self-sufficiency. This vision is what drives his pursuit of alternative alliances, such as the one with North Korea, which offers Burkina Faso the tools it needs to defend itself and assert its sovereignty. North Korea's decision to align with Burkina Faso is not a coincidence. It is a reflection of shared goals between Traoré and the North Korean regime. Like Burkina Faso, North Korea has long resisted Western influence and interference, choosing instead to pursue an independent path despite facing immense international sanctions and diplomatic isolation. This mutual understanding forms the basis of their alliance. For North Korea, supporting Burkina Faso is not just about providing military aid or gaining a foothold in Africa. It is about reinforcing a global narrative of resistance to Western imperialism. In many ways, North Korea sees itself in Burkina Faso's struggle. The country's leadership under jong-un has spent years fighting against the pressure exerted by the United States and other Western nations. North Korea's nuclear program, its military buildup, and its isolationist stance are all reflections of a state determined to preserve its sovereignty at all costs. When Burkina Faso, under Traoré, decided to reject Western influence and seek out North Korea as an ally, it was seen as a natural extension of this shared ideology. North Korea, despite its isolation, has been willing to support nations that are similarly resisting Western hegemony. By offering military support to Burkina Faso, North Korea not only strengthens its ties to a country that shares its values, but also expands its influence in a strategically important region of the world. The alliance allows both countries to stand against the dominant Western powers, challenging the narrative that African countries should follow the dictates of former colonial powers and Western-led institutions. In this context, Traoré's actions are not simply a tactical maneuver. They are a bold statement of solidarity with other nations seeking to assert their independence. His leadership has positioned Burkina Faso as a key player in this global struggle for sovereignty, making the country an appealing partner for North Korea. Through their collaboration, both countries reinforce the idea that resistance to foreign influence is a legitimate path for nations that seek to shape their futures. Do you think it even matters what the West has to say? Are they jealous? Let us know in the comments section what they might do to end this alliance. Do you want to watch more videos like this one? If so, subscribe to our channel and press the bell icon next to it. We have decided to bring videos on something nobody talks about: the Black culture, civilization, history, and evidence about how glorious Blacks have been. Thanks for watching, and until the next video, stay tuned.